today was absolutely epic, to be completely honest with you. It was all about exploring new locations, spots that like me and my buddies have never dove before. So I'm gonna roll on a clip of how I found those locations. That way you guys could learn about it and do it yourself. But the vibes were great. I mean, the stuff that we saw was amazing. I got a nice yellow jack, so I'm making sushi for it tonight. So stay tuned for some sushi making, catch and cook. But then we also saw a pretty big hammerhead shark, which was really cool. It interacted with us a lot, and it was a great time. So I'll show you how I found those spots, and then we'll roll in the footage. So this is how I find new grounds. I'm from New Jersey, so I don't know the grounds here all that well yet, but this will give you an example of how I do it. So I look for different topographies, and you can see there's some things that are preset into Navionics, like this rock pile, and you can normally click on it and it'll have some information on it. But I'm also just looking for different topography in the ground. So you can see like just to the left, that yellowish is more of like a sandy bottom, and to the right you can see it's a little bit more rocky structure. That's what those darker lines signify. And I am just zooming around to give you more like insight into it. But as you could see, there are some spots that are, like I said, are inputted into Navionics, where you can click on and see information. But this is a spot that like it's definitely going to be holding fish. You can see that on the outside, it's in that like 60 foot, and then it drops down into that 80 foot. So there's definitely a big ledge in a wall, which most likely is holding, I'd be willing to bet anything, it's holding a bunch of fish. Same thing right here, another spot that has that similar topography. So this is kind of how I find new spots. We're now on our first spot of the day. There's no current. Dive down. This is my first dive of the day as well. So I normally do a warm-up dive. I hover over the structure, kind of take an assessment of what's home. I never touch bottom or push myself on the first dive. It's just a checkout dive and warm up. And there's actually a big Goliath grouper.
Massive Goliath grouper.
This is the second dive. And I didn't get a good breathe up at all. I actually did zero breathe up. I kind of just dove down because I saw them out of the corner of my eye. But it was a group of zero macro. Take a shot, lead it too much, and I whiff. Go back down to retrieve my flasher, and you could actually see like the tiniest lionfish I've ever seen right next to it. And I'm surprised for all the structure, there really wasn't anything there. Just a Goliath grouper that ended up following us around from structure to structure. We did see a dog snapper, but we ended up losing it and couldn't find it. There's that big Goliath again, following us around, waiting for one of us to pull the trigger. And right about here, I realize my anchor line is wrapped around one of these concrete structures. So we make a plan with my buddies. I put my gun back on the boat and I dive down. I obviously have them watch over me, being that I'm going to be exerting a little bit more energy on this dive than I normally would, because I have 30 feet of anchor line. Of anchor chain. So I'm definitely going to be pulling more weight than I'm normally pulling underwater. So I know I'm not going to be able to swim it up to the surface with my anchor plus the 30 foot of chain. So I just swim it over a sandy patch and drop it. Being there was no current, I wasn't worried about it getting like wrapped up again or anything like that. It actually was a lot easier than anticipated, which was a very welcomed thing.
So now we're on our second spot of the day, and as soon as I jump in, I actually see a lobster snare. Come to find out, it was my buddy's. We didn't realize it until like later in the day that was his. So good thing I found it. But as I'm down there, I see a really cool octopus. Inks me. It was my first octopus encounter, so I was stoked about that.
Look what I found.
Now it's the same spot. I'm just over the rubble pile. Current is definitely pumping here. This is a day of triggerfish. There's triggerfish literally everywhere. Unfortunately, I skimmed the top off of this mangrove snapper. It was actually a pretty nice one. As you can hear, when I get back to the surface, I'm very frustrated.
Mother. Nice mango. Skim the top off of it. If someone could dive down on that, that's where it's going down on.
So now at this point, I've missed on the zero mackerel. I have missed on this mangrove. And the spearfisherman frustration is definitely starting to settle in. So I decide I'm going to take one of the triggerfish to make triggerfish ceviche, which is actually really good. Pull, guns on safety. Now the fish was swimming away. I miss. You can see me punching air. And as we get back to the surface, I actually have a pretty funny conversation with my buddies.
Air. H2O. Yeah.
So this is the third spot. Again, the current is absolutely pumping at this spot. I dive down and I see a fish that I believe is like the file fish unicorn, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I didn't pull the trigger. When I get back to the surface, I have a conversation with my buddy Austin and confirm it is a unicorn fish.
I think those are unicorn fish, which are good eating.
The one that you went to shoot?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm not 100% sure.
It is, it is.
They're actually really good eating, so I was trying to hunt them for the rest of the day, but you'll see as I get into the school in a little bit. So now I dive down. I see another triggerfish. Take a second one for the ceviche that I planned on making. You can see that float line right there. That's how we keep ourselves tethered to the boat, because the current, like I said, is definitely moving pretty strong. We have two float lines connected by two floats, and we hold on to that while we breathe up. So I keep that triggerfish on the tip of my muzzle, and I'm using that to try and call in these file fish, but they are not buying what I'm selling. They're staying out of reach. You'll see as I pop back up, I'm pretty far from the boat now, and I'm actually far from that float line. Now I'm down current, so I ended up aborting that. And I think I said I took my second triggerfish. This is actually my second triggerfish. First one of the day, whenever I missed on that. So now I'm out of the water. I leave my gun on the boat, and my buddy yells that there's a hammerhead. So I jump back in the water. He dives down to shoot another triggerfish. He shot a bunch this day. He's a big triggerfish guy, and I hear turn around. And all of a sudden, comes in the hammerhead.
Oh shit!
This is actually a bucket list shark to swim with for me, so I was stoked to see this hammerhead. I'd have guessed it was 8 feet.
That's epic.
We're now at our third location of the day. Current is picking up again, and it's definitely getting a little bit more fuzzy, the water. We're at about 45 foot of water. So I'll make my way down. I see a mangrove snapper, I believe, in this one. Yeah, I see a mangrove snapper swimming away. Finally gives me broadside and just shoot over the top of it again. So here I see a yellowjack come in. I go to pull. Gun's on safety. Go to pull again. Gun's still on safety. I was having safety issues today. Finally got my shot off. Led the fish. Got it right through its like mouth. This is my first yellowjack and I'm stoked.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This is a perfect eater size, and as you'll see, this is last dive of the day. Ended it with a good fish. As always, I brain and bleed my fish. The first thing I always do is get the fish to me and brain it, put it out in the most ethical way possible, bleed it to conserve the meat, and I always gut my fish too on that location to feed back the entrails to the locals and try and minimize waste. And as you can see, this is the end of the underwater session, and now we go into the kitchen to make some sushi, and it turned out to be absolutely amazing.
Alright, so we're in the kitchen. I ended up going to a music festival and seafood concert last night, so I didn't end up making the sushi, but let it rest, which is actually preferred method anyways. 24 hours is the yellowjack. I am going to fillet it up. So what I do is I just go right behind the pectoral fin, make a 45-degree angle slit. I always flip it around. I like to kind of start at the dorsal fin, work my way up. Yellowjack is really soft, so it's actually pretty nice to work with. Oh. I like to find it, work my way down the spine. From here, I'm at the spine. I like to angle my knife down over it so I get all the meat. I personally like to take my ribs, so I use a serrated knife. I've already gutted the fish. I always gut it in the water. There you go, got a nice slab. And then flip it over. Same thing, make my 45 behind the pectoral fin. Follow down the spine. Yellowjack have like a hard portion right here at the back of the tail. So sometimes I use my serrated knife. Now I'm at the top of the middle of the spine, angle my knife down, pop it on through. Come back with the serrated to take the ribs. There you go. Second slab of meat. I save all my fish carcasses. I use them for stone crab trap bait. So I'm gonna go grab a gallon Ziploc bag. I always try and minimize waste, so that's why instead of just throwing them back in, feeding the local fish, I try and use it for a purpose that would hopefully benefit me. So this will be stone crab bait. Alright, so now we will take the meat from the flesh. Take the belly and the ribs. On yellow jacks, their pin bones go pretty much about almost all the way back. So I'll take those out. I'm gonna clean this one up a little bit more, being that we're making it into sushi. Just remove the bloodline a little bit better. As you can see, there's still some bloodline right there. So I'm not gonna lie, I cheated and used this microwaved sushi rice. It's actually not that hard to make sushi rice. I just being a little bit lazy with that. We have our seaweed. Take the rice again. You know you're supposed to do this with your fingers wet. It's a lot easier if you do it. I don't know why I'm not doing it. Again, I personally don't like too much rice, so I'm going to use rice sparingly. Now that I have my sushi rice on the seaweed, pick it up, flip it over, press it down. All right. Take the cucumbers, lay them out. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but there's rice on this. I already completely botched one, so I'm redoing it. Lay the piece of fish. It's actually perfect length. And I know it's a lot of fish, but like I said, that's how I personally like it. Lay the avocado. Now I will pick this up and try and do this a little bit tighter this time. I think what I messed up on before was not squeezing it hard enough. This is my first time, like I said, though, so. And I honestly didn't watch any YouTube videos on this. And the other thing I probably should have done is had like a piece where I could just take it off and roll it in this to keep it nice and tight when I cut it, because when I cut it, it does feel like it wants to loosen up. I actually don't want to cut it on the plastic. The whole reason I didn't do that portion was because I didn't want to cut it on the plastic. Kind of like a freak about plastic. So I'm trying to avoid that. Now I'll just cut my pieces. I'm having to like squeeze my roll because of how I'm doing this so it doesn't fall apart. But it honestly is sticking pretty good. There's also a knife that came in a $20 set, so it's not the best knife in the world. Now that I got that cut, I'm going to drizzle some eel sauce. Drizzle some spicy mayo. Give it a taste test. Struggling there. There you can see the roll. It's holding together really good this time. That is so good. I'm from New Jersey, and I've honestly never heard of yellowjack. Such an underrated fish. There's so many out there. Every time I go out there, I see them. Definitely plan on taking more of these and harvesting more of these. Just honestly, that's like one of my favorite sushi rolls I've ever had, and I just made it at home. I'm floored. I'm like blown away to be to be completely honest. So, appreciate you tuning in. Stay tuned for next time, and we'll be back out there next weekend.